Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play Strikers 1945 Free Part 1. This game is also known as Strikers 1999, which I think is a way better name than Strikers 1945. This game is actually set in the year 1999, so we're not in 1945 anymore. It's a miracle. 1945 is finally ended, and now it's 1999. We've seen some pretty futuristic things in 1945, and now it's 54 years later. We just missed 54 years in the calendar. The calendar somehow went from being 1945 to now it's 1999. What happened to all those years? I know some paradox must have happened that consumed all those years completely. Maybe it was some plot from the terrorists this game. This game is about these evil terrorists that took over the government and they assassinated some high-ranking officials, and now it's up to us, these strikers, to go and attack these terrorists, fight these terrorists and take them down and restore glory to the world, and restore glory for what we are. And so, before I got to play this game, this is an arcade game, so I just loaded the machine with a bunch of Sacagaweas, because this game doesn't take quarters anymore. Oh no, quarters, those are way too cheap for games in 2022. No, they take Sacagaweas now. You know those little coins you can get that you can exchange in the bank for a real dollar? Yeah, that's what this game takes. So if you don't have any Sacagaweas, you have to go to the bank, give them a few dollars, and they'll give you a few Sacagaweas. Well, you need more than that to get for this game. You're going to be needing at least 30 of them to get for this game if you have regular average skills. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people with regular average skills. Because I'm one of those regular people, so yeah, I would need a lot of Sacagaweas. I have to fill up my pockets of Sacagaweas and go to my local laundromat or my local pizza shop and load the machine with that many coins so I could continue to play. This game is just like the other Strikers 1945 games, only as I said before, it's set in 1999. So we see more high-tech things. Then again, what is high-tech, considering the fact that 1945 was already pretty high-tech? The bosses are just what you expect for a game like this. They look like bugs or crabs or things like that fly through the air. I don't know if they're sentient robots or not, if they're controlled by something. I don't know. We get the same old enemies too. We get evil airplanes and helicopters. We can just spam our weapons around. You could keep mashing the button, getting carpal tunnel syndrome. So then you could build up like a powerful attack from that meter in the bottom left-hand corner. See, in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is a meter that fills up. If you keep tapping the fire button and you shoot stuff, then you can release a powerful shot if you hold it down. But most of the time, I just hold down the button. I just hold down the fire button a lot of the time. That's actually probably better, considering the fact that you're in an arcade, you have to keep hammering down those arcade buttons. But for some people, that's like a heavenly pleasure game to play an actual game at an arcade. Or because the arcades were the best ways to play games. This game came out in 1999, at a time when arcades are becoming mostly extinct in the Western world, but not in Japan. In Japan, arcades are still alive and well. While in America, people prefer to just play games on their PlayStation or Sega Saturn or N64. Heck, this is 1999. This is the same year the Sega Dreamcast came out. The Sega Dreamcast is at par with all those arcade systems. So, what's the point of going to an arcade? That's what most people say these days. I know people on Discord, they're like, yeah, what's the point of going to an arcade? Why don't I just play everything on the Xbox Series S? I guess they kind of have a point. It doesn't cost them any money. They don't have to go out and get Sacagaweas so they can keep playing the games, right? And of course, I picked the stealth fighter because the stealth fighter is the best one for dodging all these shots, which is something you're going to have to be doing a lot in this game. You have to be dodging bullets. You have to have really thin accuracy. You have to have like over the top accuracy of a surgeon to get through the game. It's actually easier to do it in the mobile version. So the mobile version, you actually have to use your finger and to move the plane around. You have to move your finger position around over the bullets. It's actually kind of easier in the mobile version, which you never expect that. You never expect the mobile version to be easier than the real version, but and mobile's the closest this game ever got to getting a real port. This game, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this game ever got ported onto any game systems or anything, or at least nothing that I know of. I don't think this game ever got any ported on. I know the first two got ported onto systems in some regions, and the second one got a port as just plain Strikers 1945. It's the even it got ported onto the PS1. I did a Let's Play of that over a year and a half ago. So now we're going after helicopters. Helicopters are far more abundant in the year of 1999, because it's like 1999. Helicopters are a lot cheaper now. Stuff is a lot cheaper and easier to produce now and everything. So that's probably why they could afford to build, these terrorists could afford to build such a large empire of planes and battleships and stuff like that. It's a lot cheaper now thanks to cheaper labor and cheaper labor costs. They probably don't even do it where they live. They probably They probably pay people in China to make them. That might be why some of the enemies in this game fall apart easier than some of the enemies in the previous games. Yeah, it's made in China because, it's cheaper. Maybe even worse. Or, I don't know, maybe it's built somewhere in space, maybe. I did theorize in the first game, maybe these terrorists came from space. Maybe they're like aliens or something like that. Which would explain a lot of other things too. So maybe they are aliens that live on the moon, and maybe they get some civilization of people live on the moon to build these things for them. And these people, they don't really have high standards at all. So it's explain why we're getting through this game pretty easy, actually. But then again, this game does force you to play through it again when it's done, and when you play for the second time around, it is a lot harder. I'm playing as a stealth ship, and it's still really hard to dodge all those bullets, to dodge around and maneuver around all the enemies like that. And these enemies are not exactly based on kamikaze. They're not like the Japanese fighters in that game. Those in Capcom's 1942 or 1943. They're not kamikaze, but they still do shoot a lot of bullets at you. They have like more bullets than you can imagine. I think it was possible for so many bullets to exist in the game. This isn't the worst I've seen. I mean, I know Gekyo Shooting King was worse of having to dodge bullets, and that game, and the final boss of that game was set where it's like you have to just dodge so many bullets, but if you get killed once, you have to start the fight over again, which is really, Gekyo Shooting King's a lot similar to this, but only I think this might be a bit better, because this game lets you play through the game, lets you put as many continues as you want, regardless of how good you are or not. But Gekyo Shooting King, Gekyo Shooting King doesn't do any of that stuff. Gekyo Shooting King just makes you the thing doesn't do anything. It just makes you keep playing and having to fight the boss over and over again and start over the boss over again if you keep failing. This game lets you, continue to play because they're making money off you in this game. This game's an arcade game. They want to get all of the Sacagaweas as possible off of you so they can, become pretty rich. Then again, I wonder how much it would cost to build a machine, to buy a machine like this. And how much it would cost for people to constantly play it for it to eventually pay off. It wouldn't be that profitable in today's world, mostly because most modern kids don't care about video games like these anymore. They only care about modern games, which I'm the opposite of that. I don't give a crap about modern games. I only like the classic games. I'm sure people agree with me that arcades should come back, that we should bring back classic arcades. I would go to a classic arcade. If arcades still had games like these, I would go to them all the time. But there aren't any arcades at all where I live. They're pretty much extinct. They're a dying species. But again, there's a laundromat nearby me that has a Ms. Pac-Man cocktail table machine. I've been there I went there once before, and I played for a bit. People look at me funny. People give me dirty looks when I play. I don't even do laundry there. I just go there just to play on the machine every now and then, and they give me dirty looks. I bet if I went there on a regular basis, they'd probably kick me out, or they would ask me to stop showing up. But what do they know? What do they know? They're still making money off me. They're still making a few Sacagaweas off me. Isn't that what matters to them? That's probably more money they make from people doing laundry there. I'm actually one of their best customers, one of their greatest patrons, all because I use their arcade machine. Just remember that, people, proprietors or business people are watching this. Maybe if you want to earn money from people who don't want to use your services, maybe you should get an arcade machine, so that way people might come in there and play a few games and earn some money, so you can make money off people who wouldn't otherwise do business with you. Might be a good way to draw in business, too. That sounds like a good business project, but that wouldn't work very well in today's world still, since most people prefer to play games on their phone or something like that. I don't even play very many games on my phone. I mean, I still have my Samsung Galaxy A53 phone that I got a few months ago. I only played the games on it a few times because testing it out because it was new, but now there's not really much of a point in playing games on it. That's what a PC is for, my Raspberry Pi or stuff like that. I have emulators on there to play games, and I still have a lot of old systems, but I don't really play the old systems as much anymore. I just play games on emulators a lot of time. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm playing this Star game. This game never got ported on any game systems that I know of, so I'm playing it on an emulator, MAME 2003 Plus to be more exact, which is on RetroArch, which you can be played on a PC or a Raspberry Pi 400. This game works really good on the Raspberry Pi 400, which is what I often use to play this with. I'm not using it right now, of course, because I can't really record from a Raspberry Pi 400, but it'd be pretty good if I could. I recommend getting one of those things if you're interested in emulation gaming or classic gaming emulation. Some people don't trust emulation much, but for games like this, you don't really have a choice. What can you do? You can't burn. This is not a disc game. You can't burn it onto a disc and play on an actual system, because it's not for an actual system. It's an arcade game. It's an arcade game. You have to be played on an arcade cabinet, which is something a lot of people don't have. The reason why I get this is because you can't buy the arcade game that much anymore. Even then, I wouldn't be able to fit it in my house, because the house is way too small, so I wouldn't be able to fit an arcade machine in there. I want to get a few arcades. I do envision myself eventually buying a bunch of arcade machines when I make a lot of money off my stuff, and then I could make videos of it too. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Make arcade videos, have the friends come over and have arcade game tournaments and stuff like that. Oh boy, the future looks bright indeed. But that's still like far in the future. I'm still looking at another 10 or more years in the future before that happens. And look at that, we just destroyed it. I think the nuke from being spawned. This game, I know this game nukes. So it's like 1940, like Capcom's 1941, where it nukes the screen when you start a new game or something like that. But so now it's shooting missiles. That's these slow-moving missiles. We could use a nuke on them. There's these overly strong things as well too. We have to shoot them a bunch of times and they eventually explode and we get points for it. This game resets its score every time you continue. So if you're just an average gamer like me, you're gonna have a pretty small score at this game. Expect to see it say 0-0 all the time. That's the highest score you're probably going to get, or even like a few thousand points I could have right now. That's the highest score you're probably ever going to get in a game like this. If you're just an average, unless you spend like all day, every day playing this game. Like if you don't have a life and all you do is just play Strikers 1945 free all day, every day, then yeah, I guess that could work. But I have plenty of everything to do. I actually have, like a lot of people, I actually have a life or actually do stuff. I actually do attempt to get jobs. I do attempt to move out. I do attempt to work other things as well too, such as writing books and stuff like that. So yeah, I do have other ambitions other than just simply playing games all the time. So they're going to the moon again, but this time around, going to the moon isn't that impressive because, well, we already went there once before in the first game, and that was in 1945 was when we went to the moon, so now going to the moon isn't that impressive anymore. Then again, there clearly wasn't any gap between the games. It's 54 years just magically got removed from the calendar, so it's probably just a few days after the last game, maybe in that sense, and we went to the moon before, so it makes sense we go to the moon again. Why not? What else are you going to do? It's 1945 or 1999 now. What else are you going to do? If you can't go to the moon, there's a lot of fun stuff on the moon. There's probably colonies of like elves or people like that live up there, and then maybe they could make us their wizard or something like that, and then we could use them to help fight against the terrorists. And yeah, that sounds like a good plot for something. That sounds like a good idea. You know, Hollywood's always running out of ideas for movies, because nowadays, why do you think they get kids to make movies nowadays? They get kids to write movies nowadays because it's, you know, because it's more cheaper for them to probably get kids to write movies than it is to get actual writers to write movies. So we're going to the enemy's stronghold now. We're flying for this ring, and we're in some sort of slipstream now. I think where there's these creatures, these things that look like scarabs or scorpions or stuff like that. We have to fly around and use nukes on them and collect those metals that seem to come off them. We're really getting in on this enemy. This is the first half of the game is also, because this game makes us play for the game again once we complete it, but it gets a lot harder the second time around, kind of like in that Ghosts and Goblins game where it makes you play for the game twice just to beat the game. The second time it's always harder. You know, it's always hard the second time around. Kind of like in 80s arcade games did a similar thing to that, where you play for the game once, and then once you get through the first part of the game, or then it makes you go for the game again, it constantly loops and loops, and it gets harder and harder each time around, and eventually you lose. It still maintains your score, I think, throughout there. So here's another boss. Here's one of the last bosses in the game. Yeah, we're nearing the end of the game. This game only has 8 stages and only makes us play for them twice. That'll be 16 stages in all, which is actually a pretty decent run for a game like this, considering the fact it's an arcade game where we've had to stand up for more than 30 minutes on end. So to some gamers, standing up to play a game is impossible, especially because a lot of them are very lazy. And some of them might actually consider that to be a form of exercise, having to stand up to actually play an arcade game. This thing is pretty much just about had it, I think. Yeah, he's just about had it. So now we could go finally head on to the last level of the game. Mission 8. Yeah, they're just going to send a lot whatever left. So this game also reminds me a bit of Philosoma, and this time around I can actually say it does seem very reminiscent of Philosoma. This game came out after Philosoma, and Philosoma had similar stuff to this, like similar enemies and similar like bug-like creature things that you could see in some bizarre location that would never be seen anywhere else. Well, this game's a bit more consistent, which it doesn't switch the perspective. It doesn't switch from being like a horizontal shooter to vertical shooter, or being like or being like a Star Fox type game or something like that. You know, a Star Fox game where it's like that sort of perspective. But Star Fox, I don't know what you call it perspective exactly. I know an air combat game, a 3D air combat game. I don't know. This game, it's good. Sometimes it's good to stay consistent. It's good to pick a perspective and keep with it. It actually is better for, to help master the game and help learn the mechanics of the game if it stays in one perspective. But when you flip the perspective around, sometimes it does throw off gamers. Sometimes the gamers don't always like stuff like that. I mean, Philosoma did that. It worked fine in Philosoma. But then again, Philosoma was intended to have a lot of sequels, which none of those other sequels ever got made. This game is this game is a sequel. This game is part of a trilogy, the Strikers 1945 trilogy. These games must still be pretty popular to this day if they still release them for mobile phones and stuff like that. I have the whole trilogy on my Android phone. The second one doesn't work as well, but I had the first and third ones work, which is actually pretty good if you're out and about and all you have on you is your phone, you want to play some games. Yeah, that works for that way, but it's still nowhere near as good as playing it on the actual thing. When I say actual thing, I don't literally mean the actual thing. I mean, this is the closest we'll ever get to playing it on the actual thing, playing it on an emulator, an arcade emulator to be more specific, a MAME arcade emulator, which is what I'm playing this on. And so this is pretty much the final boss. So now I have to shoot a thing that looks like it came right out of Philosoma. We're shooting at its spiky ball sack right there. Look, it just blew up, and now the ball sack has been isolated. It looks like a logo from something like that too. It looks like some sort of virus thing. I don't know, it looks like a virus protection logo or something like that. Just as it keeps shooting at it, it keeps inflaming itself. It's red, and oh, look at that, we destroy it, but we game over. So you have to still put another coin in if we want to see what happens after we destroy the final boss. Okay, so it's going to tell us how well we did. We did timing. I think it means we got poor timing on those levels. I'm not sure how it ranks timing or not. Nothing like that. There's no visible timer in the game as you play for the game. Time's based on how many medals and enemies you shoot down. Again, I don't know how it accurately keeps track of this sort of stuff, but somehow it does. Is this going through? Oh, look, we got really perfect on mission 6. Yeah, why am I not surprised about that? It counts everything. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it does. And you get for the first half of the game, first section of the game. This is Ray Phoenix signing out.